Hey everyone, it's Christopher reaching out. Hope for the battle. Today I wanted to do something a little bit differently. I wanted to share a little bit about what's been going on in my life and remind anybody or share with anyone that's newer to the channel that I am a U.S. Army veteran. My unit, we deployed to Afghanistan under Operation Freedom Sentinel. It no longer exists, but I was stationed out of Fort Carson, Colorado. So yeah, I'm a retired medically discharged soldier. I was a combat engineer in the U.S. Army, and usually I like to speak about anchoring our faith, and I like to help people that are struggling with addiction, anxiety, fear, abusive relationships. I like to just try to speak and share a kind word and anchor my faith and try to encourage others to explore, using faith as an anchor and a new approach to life, being born again. But today I want to just reach out to my veteran fellow service members, especially in the U.S. I can't speak too much for, I know we served with a lot of other nations, especially in training events and stuff. There was always, I got to give a shout out to our companions in the UK and in Australia and Germany as well. It was fun training with you guys. But anyway, what I want to discuss today is about navigating the healthcare system, especially if you have disability and are rated by the VA. Sometimes it can be easy, and I know there's a million people out there giving advice on how to get through the VA healthcare system, like to get your VA rating up, or how to apply for ratings and all that kind of stuff. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm actually here to, I want to remind everyone that you need to be your own advocate, and I'm here to help you if you're facing the gauntlet of the U.S. healthcare system. I think anyone who lives in the U.S. or has tried to get healthcare there knows it is an absolute nightmare, especially if you go through the VA. If they can see you in 3 weeks, you're lucky. Getting a specialist, months. You're lucky if it's months. I ended up coming to the Philippines. They actually have stricter regulations in many areas than the U.S. does, especially when it comes to like controlled substances for like pain and anxiety. Anyway, because here it's a lot like it was when I was a kid. You call the doctor and they can say, yeah, we can see you today, later this afternoon, or tomorrow, and you can do it for about $20. Even a specialist, you can go see a cardiologist or something like that, or a palliative care, whatever you need. And many of these doctors, before people say, well, you're in the Philippines, they don't know what they're doing. Well, actually, many of them got training somewhere else. I have a great team of doctors. One of them is actually, she got her medical degree from Duke University in the U.S. And my point is, a lot of the doctors here, they get their medical training elsewhere, and they get certified, and they choose to come back here and do the most good, because the U.S. has become so bureaucratic, so biased, and especially if you're in pain and you don't have something that's typically common. Basically, towards the end of the last time I was there, I was running into a lot of situations where it literally felt like doctors didn't believe me, they didn't want to help me, and I know other people have experienced this. It's become a culture of, basically, unless you're like literally dying of terminal cancer, they don't want to help you with pain. They don't want to help you with your anxiety or PTSD. They think people are just drug seeking, or they're looking for a doctor's note so we can get off work for a couple weeks with pay. There's been the humanity part of healthcare, or just the care part of healthcare, has largely disappeared in the U.S. And I'm here to share with my fellow veterans to remind you that you have a lot of rights as veterans. You have a lot of power. as especially if you, even if you were just, as long as you weren't dishonorably discharged or under other than honorable conditions, even if you have a general, you're still entitled to a lot of federal benefits. And it's important that, because they're so bureaucratic and understaffed, there's also a deep indoctrination going on. And I'm not saying that all doctors or nurses are bad, and I'm not saying that there's not an opiate epidemic or an STD epidemic or anything like that. What I am saying is a lot of the healthcare system has become indoctrinated to believe that you are guilty until proven innocent, not innocent until proven guilty. If you walk in there and tell them that you're having pain or you don't feel well, and there's not an immediate glaring observation or diagnosis that they can make, oftentimes providers now, they can put notes in your chart that follow you around everywhere, and every doctor, every nurse that opens your chart, your electronic record going forward, they read that and it follows you and it stays with you. So what I want to do today is implore everyone that feels like they've had extra difficulty getting the care that they know they need and deserve. I would encourage you to go into My Healthy Vet or go into whatever hospital you visited. They use very similar software. Basically everything's connected by something called Epic Charting, MyChart nowadays, or MyCare. It always starts with My something, it seems like, but under the Epic software. Anyway, these doctors and providers like to tend to read like the last note or two. They don't actually sit down and talk to veterans or patients in general and do the face-to-face and evaluations and stuff. And I didn't even know this. I had an opioid abuse note following me around that was making doctors think that I was drug seeking, when in reality I have this really horrible autoimmune disease that was triggered by my service and an injury I sustained while I was a combat engineer. And I got to wear this Freestyle Libre all the time because part of it resulted in me becoming what's known as a type 3C diabetic. My pancreas is destroyed, and that happened. I ended up in a coma, actually. They were so convinced for a long time that I was just drinking or drugging myself. They thought I literally drank myself or drugged myself into a coma. They don't want to listen to us. So, that's a nice little string. What I want to say is you have a lot of rights under HIPAA. You have a lot of rights under the Privacy Act of 1974. If you feel like you're being mistreated, go into your medical record. Ask for it. Read it. See what the doctors are really saying about you, because you might be surprised to find out that there's information about you that's not right, or flat out wrong, or a straight up lie. In my case, I also found out when I asked for it, they kept telling me to go to the hospital, and then they'd turn around and tell me that I was exhibiting drug seeking behavior when I would call and ask for help. Well, how can I be exhibiting drug-seeking behavior if every time I call for help you tell me to go to the emergency room? I'm literally doing what you're telling, and I know this is happening to a lot of other people. When you call for help, the default now is, oh, just go to the ED, and then you're stuck for hours waiting, vomiting your guts out. You're in pain. You're freaking out. Everybody, whatever's bothering you in that point in time. And then we all know the VA, they have their little short 30-minute windows where no matter what's going on in that appointment, they basically slam the door shut and send you out on your way, with a generic, oh, give us a call if you need anything, it's time for the next patient. They're so understaffed and so overworked that care in general has really kind of collapsed. So I just want to say, audit your record. It's okay to question it, especially if you're having a difficult time. It might mean there's something in there that doesn't belong there. And you have rights under HIPAA and under the Privacy Act to submit a formal addendum and a request for medical record change. And you can build, depending on how much time and effort you want to put into it, you can build a big packet and you can get other doctors, other opinions, and they have to, by law, attach it to your medical record if you're in the US. Even if they hate everything that you say, everything that you submit. By law, they have to attach your disagreement. And it forces doctors going forward to not just see what other doctors are, essentially it's kind of like study hall rumors almost. This medical charting that doctors do now, especially if you're a service-connected veteran and you have disabilities that need to be taken seriously and treated, you deserve that treatment. You don't deserve to be looked at through a lens of the last biased person who treated you. Now, if you are struggling with addiction or some type of mental health crisis like anxiety and stuff, which I've been there, I know what it's like, definitely get the help. But far too often, especially like the health information management section where the medical records are kept, they're really defensive of their doctors, and you're gonna have to push them, but it's worth it because it'll get you being seen as a person again. You're not just a number on a spreadsheet. You're not just another case file. It gets them to see you as patient. In my case, patient Christopher, or whatever your name is. They get to see you as a human again instead of just the note that was in there. And that note that was following me around said opioid abuse. And then they also wouldn't even see me for a while. And I asked, and they were trying to tell me that I had early refills, or too many early refills rather, and that I violated an opiate agreement. All because I had been to the hospital a bunch of times for treatment for my autoimmune thing because nobody could help me in the outpatient setting. It was always go to the ED. And by doing that, they turned around and weaponized it. So when I asked to see this opiate agreement that I supposedly violated, guess what? There was none. They were making it up because they couldn't or didn't want to treat me. And it was just, there's a lot of finger pointing and like revolving doors. That was another problem with the VA that I went through, is the VA in New York State that I was associated with. I would have been on my 4th primary care doctor in 4 years. It gets exhausting to try to have to establish a relationship and prove yourself to people over and over and over again. So audit your healthcare record. And one thing I want to remind everyone is that yes, doctors, their opinions are valid, and but they're still human beings. They're not God. They are not infallible. They make mistakes. They have agendas. They want to go home. They have bad days, just like everybody else. And all it takes is one inaccurate note in your chart, and it'll follow you around, and it can make getting the care you need miserable going forward until you fix it. Their words are not gospel, and you can challenge them, especially if it's making your quality of life way more difficult. It's worth taking a look into. You have the right, and you can request changes. You're not alone. There's a lot of people out there that are just being brushed off. Their pain is minimized. Their anxiety, they're basically being told to take a Benadryl and suck it up. But I'm here to tell you, you don't have to accept that. A lot of people don't know that. They think that whatever the doctor says is like written in stone, and that's not the case. Submit requests through My Healthy Vet. Talk to your patient advocate at the VA. If you trust your gut, if something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. And, you know, one thing to always remember is no matter how honest you are, and I'm not saying you should lie, but be prepared to defend yourself, even if you're always honest. No matter how honest you are, you're going to run into somebody, especially because of the way that the U.S. healthcare system is run now. And there's just this systemic belief that every patient is a liar. And I've seen it happen, literally seen it happen to other people while I've been in the hospital. They were treating this guy. This guy came in, he was having a sickle cell anemia crisis. And they were basically profiling him. He was clearly in pain. He was a grown man. He was crying his eyes out in pain. He was shaking. And he kept trying to tell them over and over again, like, look, please look at my record. You guys know this is what's going on. I know it. I can feel it. I know my body. And instead they wanted to do an evaluation for drug withdrawal on him because, you know, he didn't fit a mold, and he had to wait and go through all that garbage instead of getting the treatment he actually needed. I really hope he's okay. I ended up getting transferred before I could find out how he did, but I know it's happening everywhere. So the point of this video is there's always going to be a battle, and you are your biggest advocate. Nobody else is going to do it. They will literally shake your hand and let you walk out the door and die before they help you. In many cases, not everyone. I'm going to keep saying this. There are really good doctors and nurses and healthcare staff out there, but there's also lazy ones. There's also a lot of institutional bias now that's taken the care out of healthcare in the US. They're so overwhelmed, and even to this day, people like to default to, oh, well, it's because of COVID. Well, COVID was a long time ago at this point. You know, there's really no excuse, and the only way that we're going to get change and get treated humanely and taken seriously again is if everyone learns that you have rights, advocate for yourself, and you know, if things are still rough, give it to God. Give it to God, ladies and gentlemen. You know, He created you, and He did not give you more than you can handle. If you're homeless, if you're struggling with money, if you're struggling with addiction, if you're struggling with lousy doctors, if you're struggling with, you know, a bad toxic relationship, He doesn't put anything before us without giving us the tools that we need to get ourselves out of that situation. The book of Corinthians tells us that. And God is good. He is so real. You just give Him a chance, open your heart, and you'll get to know Him. You got to come to Him like a child, and then when you're done with that, and you know that you have Him in your corner, the truth will come out, and you know that there's nothing in this world that can declare victory over you. You know, He will make your enemies your footstool. And it's important to know that. Try to develop a relationship with the Lord. Develop some self-respect for yourself, and realize that this healthcare system is built by broken people. A broken system with agendas, people that just want to go home just like you do, that want to be done for the day. They're overworked, they're overstressed. Sometimes they put notes in lazily or don't finish a note, and it's misread or misinterpreted, and it follows you everywhere. So you got to pay attention. You got to audit. You got to read your medical records. You know, it's unfortunate, but right now it's at a level where even as adults, it's kind of like high school. You have homework. Only this homework is making sure that the paperwork about your life is true and up to date. And that was the other issue is, this doctor wrote that I had severe opioid abuse or a chemical dependency problem, but he didn't say anything to me about it in person in the appointment. Nothing. No mention, no concern. He just said, "Oh, I've seen you've been in the hospital a few times," and I said, "Well, yeah. Every time I call with a pancreatitis flare or a really high blood sugar spike, you guys tell me go to the ED. We can't help you." And kind of left him silent for a minute. And then when I left, he just, he shook my hand, smiled, and sent me out at the 30-minute mark from my VA appointment, my primary care doctor at the time. And then when I left, I realized that I found out later that he put that note in there. He didn't order a psychological evaluation. He didn't order any drug tests or urine screens. He completely omitted that I was following with palliative care already. And they had determined that, and he kept trying to get me to take something called Suboxone or buprenorphine, even though the palliative care doctor explicitly said that would be so dangerous for me because I already have sleep apnea and I'm on other meds for anxiety. I literally might die in my sleep if you put me on those medicines that I've done some research, and basically they were originally, a lot of them invented to help people that are going through like heroin withdrawal. And he was trying to put me on that, and in the note he talked about it, but he never brought it up to me in person. So you never know what your doctors are really saying. You never know what they're really thinking, but you can find out by reading your chart. The battle is never over, especially for us veterans. Every benefit that you fought for and earned, when the VA rates you, you got to fight and keep that. You got to defend your integrity and your honor until this system changes, and it's not going to change until enough of us start, doing our own audits and making sure everything is right. Fight for yourself, because the only person who will fight for you is the Lord Jesus. He already fought and died for you, and I'm just here to offer my perspective and my support, and I want you to know that I see you. I know it's difficult, and nobody's situation is the same. Everybody's different. But what is similar is that there's definitely a systemic bias in U.S. healthcare. A lot of people have to go other places, other states, or even other countries to get the healthcare they deserve sometimes. So you're not alone. Always pray. Audit your medical record. Take a look. Submit forms. You have rights. What the doctor says is not gospel. It is not set in stone. You're allowed to disagree. You're allowed to get a second opinion. And a lot of people forgot that or just don't know it. I almost feel like it's something that should be taught in school. Just like, the Bill of Rights and, our right to face our accuser and our right to free speech. We should be taught that we have a rights under HIPAA and the right to get a second opinion and question what the doctor says. You don't have to live in silence. You don't have to live suffering if you believe you've been wronged. And, I just thank you if you've watched this far. If you've got something to add or share, I welcome the comments. Start a discussion. And again, I just want to implore everybody to fight for themselves, because until you do, no one else is going to. If you don't take yourself seriously, how can anybody else? You got to be your own advocate. It almost cost me my life because I just went with the empty accusations that were in the chart that I didn't even know about. They don't deserve, nobody deserves your blind trust. Trust needs to be earned. And that's all I got. I love you. Thinking of you. God loves you. I'm praying for you. And I hope this helps you with the upcoming battle. We'll talk again soon. Good luck and thank you. I've got your 6. I'm here, always thinking about everybody, praying for everyone. See you later. Amen.